Angler Chronicles is brought to you by Van Warmer Resorts in the East Cape,
El Dorado, LA and Orange County's finest.
Fishing Syndicate Rods, get syndicated, and by Turner's Outdoorsman, your fishing, hunting, and shooting headquarters since 1971.
Hi everybody, this is Steve Carson. We're here on the bow of the Ocean Odyssey, getting ready for another great bluefin tuna trip. And before Sergio goes out there, I don't want to scare him because the bluefin tuna have been very big. And if you got big bluefin tuna out there, you've got to be ready. What I've got here is kind of the minimum that you want to use for bluefin tuna when they're much over 150 to 175 pounds. And I know I can hear you through the internet, okay? I know you're saying, well, I don't want to catch one that big. Well, you know what? The fish don't know what you want. And if you're out there fishing, they're gonna bite, so you need to be ready. So what I've got here is the minimum for bluefin tuna as they approach 200 pounds, and that is a Penn Fathom 60 Narrow. You can't really see everything I got in here, you just have to trust me. I've got about 600 yards of 100-pound test braid and only about maybe 25 to 30 feet of 130-pound monofilament, just to give me a little bit of stretch and a little bit of abrasion resistance right when the fish is near the boat. And I've got a 7-foot rod, okay? Some people prefer 7'6", that's kind of a personal preference. And remember, we've talked about this before, you never wanna fish either the low end or the high end of your rod's ratings. So I've got a rod that's rated 80 to 130 pound line. That 100-pound test is right down the middle. Whether you get a 7 or a 7'6" is really up to you. 7-footer is a little bit easier to handle. 7'6" does help you when the fish is circling deep on the corner of the boat or something like that. And what I've also got here is I've got a 400-gram jig, okay? That's really good up to about 400 feet down, depending on the wind, depending on the current. If you need a heavier jig than that, sometimes you need a 500-gram jig. Just be prepared that that is a lot of weight to crank back. So for me, I try to cap it out at about 400 grams. If you young, strong athletes want to use a 500-grammer, that's great. But much more important than anything is that, you can't really see it here, every 100 feet, I got a very bold 2-foot-long black mark that I made with one of those extra heavy Sharpies, so that when the captain calls out that the fish are 325 feet, you can immediately go a little bit below that level. And it's very, very simple fishing. You go below the level that the captain tells you, maybe 50 feet below it, lay the rod on the rail and up under your left armpit and crank like crazy. Now, while you're dropping it down, if your lure stops, it did not hit the bottom, okay? There's no bottom out there where the tuna are. So if it stops part way down, guess what? You got a bite. And as you can imagine, these do not taste very good. As the fish get bigger, okay, now you're gonna say, well, I don't really want to catch a bigger one. Sometimes the big ones are out there. Maybe you do want to catch one. When they're regularly up to about 250 pounds, which they actually have been this week. Your mileage may vary when you go out, but kind of the standard reel, and I use it on the same rod, is a Penn International 16 VISX. I also have 100-pound test braid on there. I also have a 130-pound top wind on. Call it a wind on, call it a top shot. It's only about 25 feet. And I've actually caught bluefin over 300 pounds on this, but I like to recommend up to about 250 pounds for this one. If the really big ones start to bite, now they haven't started to bite yet, but when you go out, maybe it'll be this trip, the really big ones will be biting. Then you're gonna go up to the Penn International 20 VISX. As you go to these heavier reels, let's face it, they're heavier. So part of fishing and part of success is being able to stay at the rail and be persistent. You might fish all night for one bite, and it's gonna be a good bite. So you don't necessarily go to the heavy gear like this unless you know that you need it. Now, a couple different things. Now that is a 400-gram jig. Sometimes when the fish are holding a little bit shallower, I'll go with the 300-gram jig, primarily because it's easier for me to wind in. I mean, it's that simple. Also, almost always on jigs of this style, I'm using 2 assist hooks on the bottom. Occasionally people will put two assist hooks on the nose, but I prefer it this way for these. You generally don't want to put 1 hook on the bottom, 1 hook on the top. 2 issues with that. Number 1, you can foul hook the fish. Now you got to bring in a 100-pound bluefin tuna sideways, and it also can be a safety issue for the crew. Sometimes when it's just a matter of getting down deep, remember they can't really see it very well. Oh, I should also add, I've got about a 3 or 4 foot leader, or what they call a bite leader, of 200-pound test. It happens to be fluorocarbon, but it's not because of visibility, it's because of abrasion resistance. But sometimes all you need is to get something way down deep, and that's what they call an eddy bomb. An eddy bomb can be literally a plain piece of lead, a plain sinker, or if it makes you feel better, you can have one that's painted. Generally, you're going to use, again, that 3 foot, 200 or 250 pound bite leader. The one thing you want to make sure of when you buy these sinkers in the store is that it's wired all the way through. I, and probably all of you out there, have a ton of sinkers where the ring is just maybe an inch into the lead. You hook a big bluefin like that, he's going to pull it out. My last little tidbit is going to be, you've got to be quick. Okay, you're out there, it's the middle of the night, you're a little bit groggy, maybe you haven't had enough coffee. By the way, my trick is caffeine gum, because that way you're not in the bathroom all the time. But if you want to drink coffee, that's fine. So the captain's going along and he's like, okay guys, get ready. And he's slowing down. And what happens is he's going to turn the boat into the wind. And you don't really know if he's going to turn it this way or if he's going to turn it that way. But on the opposite side, so we're going to use for argument's sake that he's going to turn it this way. You're going to be right up here on the bow, right about where I'm standing, and you're going to cast out. You don't have to make a big world record cast. 15, 20 feet is plenty. Don't get a backlash. It's a very bad time to get a backlash. And then as the boat is sliding to a stop, you're already walking down. You're walking down. And hopefully, about the time that you get here to the stern, your lure is down at the depth where the fish are at, and you're going to get a bite. Because quite often, when the schools are moving fast, it's that first lure down that's going to get the bite. So be ready, catch the big bluefin tuna. We'll see you out there.